my pleasure, such as it is.
It's
A qualified
yeah,
pleasure.
right, exactly. It's all in context, yes. Sound check. Test 1, 2, 3. Testing the microphone. That's it? That's it? Yeah, that's good. I didn't check with Jana. I think we just put out a whole bunch. I think he's good. Can I see Jana? We're good? Sound check, test. 1, 2, 3, good? Good. going to begin in just a couple of minutes, so I want to give you a 2 minutes notice to enjoy your visiting. Thank you. Thank you all, including those of you watching the live stream, for coming to this celebration of life for Jayson Scirratt. My name is Larry Cohen. I'm a longtime member of the Gay Men's Chorus of Washington, but also someone who knew Jayson from outside the chorus. Jayson joined JMCW in 2011 after moving to DC in 1992. And as coincidence would have it, at that time he rented an apartment in the same condo building as me, here in DuPont Circle, just about a block away. So we were neighbors and became friends more than 30 years ago. Coincidentally, he was also a member of St. Thomas Parish in the 1990s. So it's fitting that we gather in this place today. Not only for that reason, but because a few years ago, STP also became home to JMCW. The chorus rehearses in this very room, for example. As a chorus member, I can't tell you how many stories I've heard about what a big heart Jayson had and how nice and welcoming he was to everyone. As just one example, numerous times a member of the chorus family was home recovering from an illness or injury. He would do some batch cooking at home and bring them a week's worth of food, or do their laundry if they had a broken arm, or just check in on them to be sure they were okay. The list of examples goes on. Jayson and I also share a mutual interest in music outside the chorus. Jayson was not only a singer, but proud to be a band geek. As like others who will speak after me will mention, he played French horn, he was the drum major for his high school marching band, and in the color guard for one of the drum corps. I had no band experience myself, but loved to be in the audience for it. One of my and Jayson's annual traditions over the summer was to go hear one of the drum corps competition performances when they were within driving distance of DC. Those excursions took us anywhere from Warrenton, Virginia to Annapolis, Maryland. And then in August, we would watch the live stream together at the DCI quarterfinals from Indianapolis. Lots of great memories. This past August is probably the first time Jayson was unable to do that. But I know he was able to watch some highlights on his phone. We texted each other with our reviews and commentary afterward. Back to the chorus, I know how much he loved and enjoyed it, and was among JMCW's biggest cheerleaders. If you've seen his Facebook posts, covering everything from JMCW singing on the steps of the Supreme Court, to performing for our peer choruses at International Chorus Festival, to Christmas caroling at the National Institutes of Health Hospital, and everything in between. By the time of World Pride last June, Jayson was having difficulty walking, sitting, and standing due to excruciating pain, but he was determined to sing with JMCW in 2 special performances in prime venues JMCW had been invited to: Strathmore Music Center in Bethesda, Maryland, with the International Pride Orchestra, and Carnegie Hall in New York City. He powered through and performed in both of those, and so he concluded his time with JMCW on a very high note. And I'll end my remarks here on a high note with fond memories of Jayson.
Hello, I'm Ann Reed. Today I'm representing myself and my brother Marty, who could not make the trip because he is ill with pneumonia and greatly regrets he could not be here today. I'm his sister. Jayson Jeffrey Scirratt was born August the 25th, 1962 in Waco, Texas. He lived in Washington, D.C. for 34 years. He was 63 years old and died on November the 5th, 2025. Jayson's wish was for his body to be donated to science, and we were able to do that through Anatomy Gift Registry. His parents were James and Vera Scirratt. His nickname was Jay, and he was called Jay until later in his adult life. So if I say Jay, you'll understand why. Jayson is survived by his older siblings, Marty and Ann, 4 nieces and nephews, Austin, Rebecca, David, and James, and 1 great niece, Ellie. And he was so grateful we were able to all be together to celebrate Ellie's first birthday. Jayson loved all the kids and enjoyed making memories with them. He was diligent about taking his uncle pictures with the kids. In getting the pictures together for the slideshow, I had to remind myself that you all don't need to see him holding every baby every year of their lives. You can thank me later for that. We grew up in Hearne, Texas, where our dad was a minister and mom was a musician and a school teacher. Music was a central theme in our family and always present in our daily lives. Jayson took piano lessons from mom at a young age and also learned French horn in bed. We grew up in a small town in central Texas where you know everyone. We developed lifelong friendships that became family of choice with our sister friend Juanice and her parents. Juanice took it upon herself to keep Jay's glasses clean. It was a full-time job and became a standing joke between them for years. We had great fun playing with all the neighborhood children. Marty would be playing football in the front yard and Jay would be twirling a baton, which was a sight to behold. He would use this talent later in life as a drum major. Maybe our family vacations weren't typical, like going camping. Our vacations were going to football games, symphonies, and seeing many musicals. The Sound of Music was one of our favorites. Dad, Mom, and Jayson were able to go on a trip to Europe, where they enjoyed the tour of visiting the sites where they filmed The Sound of Music in Salzburg, Austria. Jayson loved ice skating. When we were preteens, he would make me practice ice skating with him in the living room and practice the lifts while watching it on TV. You can see how pretty this is. He loved to dance and also made me be his dance partner and learn how to jitterbug. He was a fantastic dancer and could out-jitterbug anyone. Later in life, at 25, he started ice skating and competed and performed for 6 years and won the silver medal in men's level 1 at the 1994 Gay Games in New York City. Here in D.C., he enjoyed dancing with Crenoff Jones and the D.C. Rawhides. We moved to Jackson, Mississippi when Jay was 14. Jackson provided Jayson with some new opportunities. He learned sign language and started interpreting for the deaf in church and other places. He was the high school drum major of the marching band. He was a classical musician who played French horn, piano, and organ. Jayson would compete in French horn competitions, and Mom would accompany him on piano. He was a member of the Drum and Bugle Corps along with his dear friend Curtis Jackson. Here in DC, Jayson loves singing with the Gay Men's Chorus, and we are so grateful to those of you from the chorus who are here today to honor Jayson with your beautiful singing. Thank you so much. Jayson attended Baylor University and started out as a music major, but ended up with a sociology degree. He was a member of the Baylor Marching Band. Our parents had attended Baylor, and we grew up attending so many Baylor football games. Jayson often said the only reason for football games to exist was to give the marching band a place to perform. Yes, he did. I guess our blood was green and gold because Marty, myself, and Jay also graduated from Baylor. In fact, for Jayson's first semester of college, all three of us were there, my poor parents. Marty was there for my first 2 years, and Jayson was there for my last 2 years. Jayson and I even went to some of the same music classes together. Then after class, we would go to lunch at one of the dorm cafeterias. Though unusual, we thought it was wonderful to share our college experience together. And no, you don't tell your parents everything that happens in college. Looking back now, I see how we loved being together, had each other's back, and cherished those special times and memories. Jayson moved to DC around 1991 and began a career as a sign language interpreter, forming lifelong friendships with many of you who are here today. He also had office jobs and was an excellent office manager. He could get anything organized in minutes. His last job was at the Wilderness Society, which was a highlight in his career. He became a dog owner and loved his cute dog, Cosmos. Jayson was a very wealthy man with friends. If you thought you were a friend of Jayson's, would you raise your hand? There you go. That was one of his gifts in making you feel valued, heard, accepted, and he loved spending time with you. He deeply loved his friends and spoke of you often. As you know, these few comments are just a glimpse into the loving, giving, kind, funny, and exceptional person Jayson was. Jayson had many unique chapters of his life, and for time's sake, other speakers will share more about those. Marty and I want to thank Larry Cohen and Tracy Randolph for organizing this service and the reception. Thank you to the speakers for honoring him with your words, and for all the other people who are helping with this service and the reception. Thank you again to Thea and the Gay Men's Chorus for honoring Jayson with music. As I have mentioned before, thank you to Jayson's Washington, D.C. family for the loving care he received through you, through his cancer journey, and for honoring his every wish. Thank you to Shoshana Reisman for setting up and managing the online My Cancer Circle for Jayson and for so many other things. And thank all of you for coming to celebrate the life of our dear brother and your friend. Maybe you haven't come to terms with his death. And my mind and my heart cannot process the fact that he isn't here for the rest of my life. I believe this service will help us to begin to say goodbye. In Jackson, Jayson learned to play the pipe organ. When I think of Jayson, the music I hear in my head is a piece of organ music called Toccata from Symphony No. 5 by the French composer Vidor. It is a joyous, spirited, energetic, and exuberant composition. I see a tall, skinny boy playing this massive pipe organ like he owned the thing. Just like all of us, Jayson at times had struggles and challenges in his life, but I think this joyous, spirited, energetic, and exuberant piece of music represents how he lived his life. We love you, Joe.
I'm tall. My name's John, and I was Jason's sponsor in AA. I had to resist my name is John, I'm an alcoholic and an addict, because that's usually it. And, but if this were a meeting, we'd be in the basement of this church, not up here. So, and I was trying to think of how to sum up, our lives together over these past 7 or 8 years, and I thought, well, let's do it like a share, and what it was like, and what happened, and what's it like now. And when I first started sponsoring Jayson, he was very prepared for his discussion. He had a list. He went through the list of the things. Here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I'm going to do. Boom, 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 boom. And my first thought was, you could be an auctioneer. Because he said it and he goes, how was it? And I'd have to regroup, to think, okay, let me think about that. Eventually, I learned a couple of things. I can break in any time into that, but it took some muscle. And Jayson had a sense of humor that could border on, let's say, Monty Python. And so there was a lot of, it took me a couple of years to figure out, because what it resulted in is that I would laugh at some of the most inappropriate times during a share, and it's kind of like, it took me a couple of years to say, I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at what you said, it's just how you said it. So after apologizing for a couple of years, I figured out I didn't need that. I didn't need to do that. It was okay the way it worked. And Jayson would, he worked a program, and he would, if there was a newcomer in the room, he walked up to the newcomer. If somebody went out and came back into the rooms, he spent time with them. He reached out to people. And he was a model for that, to be there as the hand for help. And I admired him for that. And, my role of a sponsor is to share my experience, strength, and hope. And try to keep from future tripping. How do we keep our heads in the same place where our feet are? And that takes some work. And, particularly, I'm going to lose it any minute here, so let me hold that thought. My job was to keep from what ifs. Let's talk about the what ifs. Let's stay here now. And over the course of suspicion to fear to biopsy to diagnosis, and in all of those times when what ifs turned into what is, I wasn't ready for it. When Jayson broke the news to me, he asked me, are you okay? Do you have somebody you can talk to? And this I have to get personal, I'm sorry. But for me, passing is something that happens when I'm not looking. And this didn't. This was, Jayson carried me through this. He carried me. And for all those people in the room here that were caregivers to him, I am so grateful for you that you carried him. Because we're all here today. And I am grateful for that, for what he has given me. And because today, this is not landing on a sad note, but when I see everybody here, and I see the Jayson that sang, and I see the Jayson that line danced, and was that worked with people in AA, and did all the things, I look out here and I see Jayson here, and I am grateful for that, and I'm grateful that he had been in my life, and I am grateful that you are here. Thank you.
And I want to sign it. I won't. When I got here today, people that I walked, well, let's see, where's Donna? Oh, Donna came up to me and I went, oh my, I've gotten short. And truly, it's happening. It will also happen to you. And I remember about 3 years ago, I went to the doctor for a regular checkup, and she said, and you're now 5'2". No, I'm not. And then she Well, yes, you are. And what possible good could it come from you telling me that? And I still feel that way. Leave me alone. Yes, I know, everybody. But Jayson was also tall. And he was so many things. He was kind, he was funny, he was irreverent, and he was there for you no matter what you needed. And I'm also here, I guess, to sort of represent SLA. If you don't know what that is, Sign Language Associates is the company that I was founder of and also became the CEO of. And it grew much. Am I not close enough? See, I'm so short that now, but I'm also a little Ethel Mermany, so I think, wait, it's dying. How about if I pretend like is that better? Okay, there you go. All right, and where was I? So anyway, SLA started in the 80s, in the early 80s, and many of the people who here is part of SLA? Them. And him, yes. And it is a family. It is not just a company. Several years ago, 2017, a group of people like this let us know that we were having a reunion. And people flew in from everywhere because of the family feel of this company. And Jayson is a perfect example of that love. We all are going to be there for each other, and he was and we were. And Jayson came to us, and I heard earlier that he moved to DC in '91. I'm not sure exactly when he started being a contractor for us, which is like a freelance interpreter, but I can tell you that I checked in my books and all my spreadsheets, and he was, in 1996, he became a staff member of SLA. He stayed with us for 9.5 years, and his last post was as the center director for Frederick. Now, for those of you who are wondering, wait a minute, this is a DC company. The company became huge. We had offices in several states. We had different contracts all over the world, and it just became very, very large, and the family stayed with that. Jayson was a great employee. He was reliable. He was a hard worker, and best of all, he was a bit of a goofball, because we all enjoy being silly, and he was, I think, maybe the king of silly. And here are the things that he enjoyed: singing, the gay men's chorus, ice skating. I'm copying everything you said, but it's true. Organization. And I'm an organized person as well, so I always sort of thought that that was just wonderful. He was a wonderful guy. And then he also loved theater, which is a big love of mine. And will you wait just a moment? Wait. This shirt represents the love we have. Does anybody recognize it? This is from the Tuna Christmas, the play, Tuna Christmas. We had, first of all, I've interpreted it 432 times. Well, I mean, that's hyperbole. But we all have had, and we got together as a group. And we got together as a group and went to see it together. We all knew the words. And I have a picture somewhere that, so if anybody wants to see it, I'll dig it out of my purse, of Jayson was at one of the groups. I don't remember exactly when that was, but the two men who were in the show, who wrote the show, and were several characters each. So they would come in, and then all of a sudden they'd go off and they'd come in as somebody else. And we loved that show so much. And it screams Jayson. And so I had to bring this. I was going to wear it, and I thought maybe that would be too much. But that's it. He loved Tuna Christmas. Maybe because of the Texas connection, I'm not sure. But he also loved tennis. And I am a little Tennessee. Wait, that's not right. Not like Tennessee, but tennis-like. Yes, much better. And he would call me, because he never had a TV for some reason when in various apartments, and he would call and say, "Are you watching Wimbledon?" And knock, 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 he'd be there, and we would have, a party would ensue. And he knew that I loved Nadal, and if you're not into tennis, Nadal is my very favorite person in the world. And he was supposed to be at I can't think of the name of it. It was, anyway, the place here in Rock Creek Park. And so we went, and he didn't come. And so I think Jayson always felt like I'd lost something of myself in that day, but I kind of picked myself up pretty good. And Nadal is still doing well. He's retired now, but then so am I. Jayson, all in all, was a great human being, someone I am blessed to have had in my life and in our company, and I'm sure you all feel exactly the same. Thank you. Be careful. Well, if you're really tall, that'll work.
I'm taller than you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Guy Bosworth, and I knew Jayson from both the recovery rooms and GMCW. We were fellow second tenors in the chorus, of course, the best section in the chorus, the second tenors. And about a year after moving to DC, I moved in 2012, and as someone has already pointed out, Jayson very quickly came and introduced himself to me and reached out to the newcomer. And about a year after moving to DC, he invited me to see Sutton Foster at Strathmore. He had an extra ticket from work, and he asked if I'd like to go with him. Well, if you don't know me, the question is moot, because obviously I want to go see Sutton Foster at Strathmore. We didn't know each other very well at that point, but I did accept. And what I didn't know at the time was that these were front row seats to see Sutton Foster. So as you can imagine, it was a great show and a wonderful example of Jayson's generosity. When Jayson got ill, I started visiting him in the hospital. He was upfront about his decision not to fight the cancer, and I respected that. He told me he was a fighter, but he didn't want to fight that battle. He always had some little task that he needed completed, part of his organizational issues, and the one that popped into my mind, and I didn't realize it was a long-standing issue for him, but he always needed to find his lens wipes for his glasses. Yes. Or I had to fetch fresh fruit from the refrigerator for the employees because he had stashed his fresh fruit in the employees' refrigerator. And one day he asked me if I could help him fill out a form from the hospital. I didn't think anything about it, but it turned out to be his final directive paperwork. And one of the questions on the form was, how do you want people to remember you? And he paused, and finally he said, I want people to know that I struggled in many ways, but that I persevered and I ended up in a good place. I had many good things in my life that I enjoyed, specifically my family, my friends, and the honor of singing with the gay chorus at the Kennedy Center and the Carnegie Hall. As Jayson would often say, I think that deserves 3 snacks. I admired his honest assessment. Jayson was always open about the challenges he faced over the years with his health and his career. But he faced each one head on and without self-pity. And he did persevere. He made changes to his diet, which helped clear up some of his health issues. He worked numerous temp jobs until finally finding a permanent position, and that allowed him to get back to his own apartment close to DuPont Circle and close to the gay community that he adored. But this was especially evident with his final illness. In all the visits that I had with him leading up to his death, he never once complained or asked me why. Why him? The last time I saw Jayson, a few of us from recovery took a meeting to him at the nursing home. A fellow had organized a sign-up sheet to take weekly meetings to him through March, and it had quickly filled up. There wasn't one week that wasn't filled. And he was visibly moved by this showing of love and respect. It was really one of the only times I saw him get emotional. At the end, we closed the meeting as we always do by joining hands and saying the Serenity Prayer. If you're comfortable, I invite you to take the hand of the person next to you. We have a great way of closing. Let's take a moment of silence for the sick and suffering in and out of these rooms. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Gee, thanks. No, this wasn't hard already. 525,600 minutes. How do you measure a year? In daylights and sunsets, in cups of coffee and laughter. How about love? Let's celebrate. Let's remember the love. Good afternoon. I'm Donna Matz from Outer Mongolia, as Jayson dubbed, otherwise known as Centerville, Virginia. I was fortunate enough to share a 33-year-ish friendship with Jayson and also support him during his cancer journey. I feel a little bit obligated to explain my vintage outfit today. About 15-ish years ago, yes, it's that old, Sherry Blumenberg and I came to town to attend a holiday or winter concert of the chorus that Jayson was performing in. And I sought some fashion guidance from him, and he said, "Oh yeah, that outfit's fine, but it really doesn't matter because no one will notice." Clutch pearls, hetero gas. We'll see. Not one, not two, but three handsome, sharp-dressed gay men complimented my Jean-Claude Cabaret ensemble that night. J.C. Penney. Yeah, how is it eating that crow, Jayson? I was able to share that story with him when I was with him the last day. I saw him on November 4th, and how I reveled in that "I told you so" moment. In his weakened state, he was able to turn ahead and give me a huge grin and muster a very breathy chuckle. I'm sure the organizer extraordinaire in him is giving a gay gasp that I still have the ensemble and shuddering at, oh my God, what else is in her closet? After he passed, his Facebook page was flooded with an outpouring of love. And the one sentiment that just kept jumping to me and pulling me was from someone named Michael Garbus, thank you, who said, quote, "Jayson put himself out there in all the best ways, and he will be missed." To me, that really just captures how he lived, how he interacted with everyone, shining his light brightly to all. And yes, it gives me great pleasure in a church to stand here and speak how Jayson put out and how the world would be a better place if we all would put out more. All right, rein it in. All right, sorry, I mean put ourselves out more, #manners. I met Jayson over 30 years ago when he moved to DC to come out and live authentically. I recall meeting him at SLA as interpreters and feeling somewhat intimidated by him, thinking, other than interpreters, what does this city slicker, gay, museum goer guy ever gonna have with this redneck raised suburban wife? Because Jay put himself out. We discovered we had an enormous amount in common. Humor. And we're kindred spirits. Everything from fashion sense, music, the love of sound and music, and being raised in churches where we had an excessive amount of repertoire of Vacation Bible School songs. Holiday and the Childress, too, who joined that group. I can recall vividly when we discovered that we both were raised in homes where the Lawrence Welk Show was a TV staple. Oh, that master mimic, he instantly quipped, "Thank you, Bobby and Sissy. That was wonderful, wonderful." To which I answered, a friendship was born. Speaking of mimic, and can anyone ever forget the greatest Halloween costume ever of him as SNL's church lady? Isn't that special? As you've heard, he was a very important member of the staff at SLA and the family that was built there, having many friendships there. As an SLAer, Kristen Sprenger shared his birthday twin, 3 snaps, Kristen, and stated that he formed connections that endured time and distance and kept us all close. I just want to take a moment and share some of those connections he made. There was Sarah Kurtz, their love of boas and all accessories involving a feather. Rita Joe, his Sex and the City partner, who every New Year's Eve received that Auld Lang Syne clip from Jayson. Steve Fan, who was treated to a home-cooked meal of sauteed tofu from Jayson when he relocated from Texas to DC. Jen Green, they both attended each other's choral concerts. Tracy, who will share about their friendship, but together she and Jayson could recite the entire script of Steel Magnolias. Joanna Ball, who was fortunate enough to be mentored by Jayson as a new interpreter in DC. He shared so much knowledge about the profession in this area. He was the guru of public transportation, how to get to this job, what metro stop, what bus goes here, there, that. And also important knowledge like that eating asparagus will turn your pea green. Susan Page Heaney, who helped Jayson get rescued by finding Cosmo. Scott Wallace, another beautiful voice, singer. Both of them shared being members of Gay Men's Chorus, Jayson in DC and Scott in Austin, Texas. And they were able to reunite recently in Minneapolis at a choral event. Kevin Dials, in a word, theater. And then they also got assigned to this job for 6 months that was basically like the client from hell. I have yet to hear what they did, Janet, why they got assigned to that. Ooh, bad timing. Don't play with her. And then you add Gordon Vernon to that mix with Theater Love. And then Jayson and Gordon sharing the struggles of finding theater seats and public transportation seats that gave adequate legroom. Just to clarify, Kevin didn't have that issue with legroom. Tricia Montgomery, who benefited not only of being a fellow interpreter, but also getting help with decluttering skills from Jayson and his organization skills. Side note, I'm forever indebted to Tricia for visiting Jayson on the 4th of November at Suburban Hospital and for secretly recording me trying to sing a bit of Climb Every Mountain with him. You'll hear a much better version. With Jayson, he knew all the words and had perfect timing. It was a gift not only to me, but also to his siblings. Karen Schweitzer just sums up Jayson's time as an interpreter beautifully. She wrote, "Jayson was a talented interpreter and a consummate professional. He was an ideal team interpreter for me, balancing my tendency to take everything too seriously and his lightning-fast wit and his ability to find humor in many a situation. One of the biggest gifts he gave to me is that he helped me not take myself so seriously." End quote. Speaking of that warp speed wit, I have to share the thought from Annalise Lauritsen. I think the only interpreter, perhaps human being, that could match wits with Jayson. She shared a great memory. She said, "There was a time I replied to an RID request," that's Registry of Interpreters for the Deaf, for those of you that are sign language impaired. When they saw it, they were our member organization, and they were canvassing for contributions. She says, "I replied to that request with, 'Ha!' Little did I know that Jayson would be answering my form." He was employed there at the time. His response went something to the effect of, "Dear Miss Lauritsen, thank you so much for your contribution of ha. As you know, we at RID are in great need of ha's, and your contribution is much appreciated. We will make sure that we use your ha wisely." Tears through laughter is my favorite emotion. For what Jayson and I personally shared, the most powerful memory I have of him putting himself out there for me was about 30 years ago, March of 1996 specifically. And I lost my son, Joe, to stillbirth. Not too long after it happened, I received a thick envelope in the mail. It was a lengthy letter from a friend of his from Texas sharing her pregnancy loss experience with me. And then his card that said, "I care." About 2 years later, I gave birth to a healthy daughter, and I can still see him taking that stroller from me and wheeling her around with joy and pride when I visited a bunch of interpreters that were interpreting at a conference in Bethesda in December of 1998. He passed away on her birthday. I choose to characterize this as his final act of consideration and kindness to me, knowing my horrible ability to recall exact dates. I will never be able to forget the date of his transition. And it's not lost on me that his last night on earth was when the Democrats served up a throat punch to the Republicans, as he called them. The man always had impeccable timing. I hope that we all will do our best to not allow Jayson's light to be put out by putting ourselves out there in our best way. For me, what I say and do, if I could squelch any act of oppression, discrimination, or bullying, or poverty, arrogance, and especially wearing white shoes after Labor Day. Standards. I hope that I can do things that would bring a light to justice, empathy, compassion, appreciation, and humor. Oh my God, most of all, laughter for all, liberty and justice, and laughter for all. Everyone except Christina, that is. How do you measure life? And how do you measure impact? I mean, I measure life by impact. How do you make impact? How do you have impact? Well, like my favorite Vacation Bible School song says, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. And a message from Jayson: make them hear you. When they hear you, I'll be near you again. Thank you.
Let's do a little costume change right here. A little Bob Mackie share, Jayson right here. A little scarf with many colors. Let's see. Isn't it cute? First time I'm wearing it. Let's see. My name is Juan Carlos. Can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. My name is Juan Carlos. I am Jayson's one of closest friends, best friend if you want to call it, / many things. Let's see. We met around 1998, I would want to say, ish. The ish comes in handy a lot. And we bonded, I think, over Academy Award nerd. We were Academy Award nerds because we could come up with quotes and who was Best Supporting Actor in 1974 and who won Best Movie in 1981. And we could outdo each other. And that's how we became friends here in the DuPont Circle, Circle de la DuPont, as you would call it. That's one of the things I tend to do. I tend to French things, Circle de la DuPont, DC de la Washington, it's things like that. And we became friends after that. We started going out to movies, we started going out to dinners, we started going out to theater events at the Kennedy Center. And one of my fondest memories, when we went up to New York, we took the train up to New York and we went to the MoMA. And for him, it was the most amazing thing. His eyes were just popping open, and I admire him, the knowledge he had about different artists and different movies and different events that were theatrical, and he really taught me how to become a little more understanding of the arts. And besides that, I think we tend to be a little repetitive, I think, for things that we admire about Jayson. But one of the things that I admire the most is he showed me how to be a more loving person, how to be more accepting, how to be more understanding of people that don't necessarily think, they don't have to think like you. And you can still be a loving person. And, it's one of those things I tend to take with me on the journey through life. And, we're at the age of that in life where we think that we're going to live forever. And we just came to realize that, life is short. We have to take care of each other. We have to love each other. And that's one of the things that Jayson taught me how to do. And I hope that I am able to carry it forward for the rest of my life. My thoughts are very short and sweet. I did not come up with something that quotes, and I love listening to all those things. I'm just speaking from my heart. And Jayson, I love you. Jayson, thank you everyone for coming here for a Gay Men's Chorus, and which was a big part of his core. And Jayson, Jaycito, as I used to call him, was his diminutive of Jayson in Spanish. And we came up with that. I love you wherever you are. Thank you.
I got it. Yeah, I got this. Hi, I'm Tracy Randolph. I haven't worn sequins since my last dance recital when I was in elementary school. I don't know how you people do it. They keep, they keep sticking. They keep connecting. If you find sequins, it's because they're from me. I have to pull it apart. I don't know what's happening. I just, it's too much. I just hope the fashion police, where he is, approves of my attire. It was a toss-up between buying sequins or dressing as Weezer or Clary from Steel Magnolias. Speaking of, you should know that truly in October, he told Juan Carlos and I that we weren't allowed to allow anyone to come into this room today unless you could quote at least 2 lines from the movie. That's why in my first announcement I had said, you have homework to do. The movie was important to him. If you've not seen it, please grab Kleenex before you watch it, especially now. And also, this is not in my notes, but I just wanted to say for point of reference, and I'm not going to talk about this because I can't. Damn it. I was with him when he passed, holding his hand. He was not alone. Give me a minute. Sorry. Sorry, Amanda. Anyway, I want to thank everyone who had a hand in putting today together. I'm afraid to start naming names because I'm afraid I'm going to forget someone. But even the simplest of affairs, which is what he wanted, has many moving parts and details. The number of individuals who reached out to help is a testament to Jayson and to the people he surrounded himself with. Thank you to the chorus who offered to sing today. Again, it's a testament to Jayson. I've struggled in deciding what to say about my friend of over 30 years. I thought I could get farther than this before I started crying. I'm sorry. I've struggled in deciding what to say. I'm choosing not to focus on his last 6 months. Because although how he approached it, as you've heard, exemplified who he was, it didn't define his life. As is the case with many here, I first met Jayson as a sign language interpreter. We worked together and became fast friends. We bonded early over many things, including being strong introverts. Believe it or not, he was an introvert. Our sarcasm, shocker. Our propensity for having orthopedic surgeries. Got 2 new knees in the last year, just saying. Being from the South, although he would say we were both Southerners, he then quickly would say, but I'm from Texas, which isn't really the South. It's Texas, with that emphasis. And our love for dogs. As you heard, I remember when he adopted his beloved Cosmo back in the 90s. He tried to adopt from various shelters in the DC area and was rejected. Back then, they didn't want to adopt out a dog to someone without a yard. But a friend and colleague, Susan, who's here, fostered small dogs for a local group and was fostering Cosmo. She thought they'd be a perfect match, and they were. And you'll see pictures of Cosmo in the video montage upstairs. You might also see many pictures of you guys up there. We did our best to grab a wide variety of pictures. His wit, sarcasm, and Jayson-isms were always on point. Who else would call the Oscars the high holy homo day? I live in the burbs. I'm also in Outer Mongolia, i.e. Montgomery County, Maryland. If the burbs got so much as a dusting of snow, he would make a Facebook post telling me, Judy Rockhill, Joy Bannister, you are here, Shantae Frazier, please pick up the red courtesy phone in the lobby. Let us know you're surviving the blizzard. He made us laugh, he made me laugh, and everyone else, like few could, and we laughed a lot. We had numerous inside jokes, many of which came from crazy interpreting assignments we had over the years. We'll never not hear the word gestalt again in my life and not laugh. It's an inside joke, but as recently as about a month before he passed, he was texting me, I was listening to something and heard the word gestalt, and here we are. Anyway, when we started giggling, it typically turned into laughing so hard we couldn't speak. I loved hearing him with that wheezing laugh he would sometimes get where he just couldn't speak. So many things make me think of Jayson, and while those things now can make me a bit teary, I know that one day they'll make me smile. As Donna mentioned, Jayson, I will never wear white after Labor Day. I will never use wire hangers. I will remember that Christina deserves nothing. I will never wear leggings as pants. And generally try not to commit serious fashion faux pas while in public. I will also remember that the only thing that separates us from the animals is our ability to accessorize. Steel Magnolias, if you haven't watched it, you have homework. You've heard a lot about this incredible human being today. I could spend hours adding to what you've heard and telling stories, but instead, I'll just say he was one singular sensation who I loved more than my luggage. Steel Magnolias. I was honored to be his friend and to support him on the terrible journey he had to take at the end of his life that no one should ever have to take. Borrowing an excerpt from Wicked. I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn, and we are led to those who help us most to grow if we let them, and we help them in return. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? I do believe I've been changed for the better. And because I knew you, I have been changed for good. Jayson.
Every path you know. There's fourth floor